Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. This is Proverbs The Antidote, and we're so glad that you're here. We've just finished a whole series on the book of Proverbs, and we have been working through all of them. Now we're at the 31st proverb, and what I wanted to do was give you a practical application what it might look like when a family actually takes up this process of training their young leaders, to be successful in the world. So we're going to start with the book of Proverbs chapter 31. Now I'm going to ask them. I believe they already did this, but I want to ask them anyway. Have you read the chapter?
Yes.
You didn't read the chapter?
I was doing my stuff.
Okay. That's true to fact. He didn't read it, but we have it right here in front of you. Now, the first part of it talks about Proverbs 31 is an instruction from a mother to a son. What do you think about it? What was your thoughts on it? What were the primary things that you saw in that chapter from Proverbs 31, and what the advice of a mother to the son? Remember, it's King Lemuel, right? And King Lemuel, his name actually means of God. So he's the king of God. He's a person of God. So we train up, and then we realize that the concept of a king is not one of the things that we really have today, right? So you suggested we should use what?
The word leader.
Leader.
Mm-hmm.
A prospective leader, a growing leader, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first part of it. Now, did you pull it up on your screen, Naheim? Proverbs 31.
Well, one of the things I realized was this word to a mother. She was telling him about the kind of women to avoid and how to live a life that he could effectively lead people, I think, by not being drunk and being drunk so that he could be level-headed and capable to lead the people as they needed to be led.
Okay, Naeem's found it. So read the first few verses, Naeem.
The words of King Lemuel.
Mm-hmm.
The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son? And what the son of my womb? What? And what the son of my vows? Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. It is not for kings.
Okay, stop right there for a second. So we got the general setting, right? The general setting is a mother like Unitha trying to give some school to her son, right? And so it talks about the vows and all that kind of stuff. That's like your commitments that you made to raising up this child in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Train up a child in the way they should go, and then when they get older, they will not depart therefrom. Mm-hmm. So that's the setting that we have here. And so that's all the stuff about vows and the woman and the womb. We taught the group earlier that the womb is the stargate. It's the way people come from one spirit into this earthly realm. So it's a powerful thing, and we should give honor to the womb. But now it says, "Do not give your strength to women, or your ways to that which destroys kings or leaders." What do you think that might mean, Naeem?
I think it says do not gain your confidence or belonging from outside forces. Get that from within, and don't go looking to woman or anything, really drugs, anything to have that strength.
Good. Yes. So and that's now, see, this is how when you have family, I never even saw that perspective. Mm-hmm. I need to say this to you guys, that what we're talking about for a son to a woman can be a parent to any children. It's not just centered, but the way the ancient writers wrote it, they were child centered. So, and what did you think about that? Did you have another take on that, about this part where it says don't give your strength to a woman or your ways? What would a mother? What's a mother's perspective on that part?
It says on this version, I have verse 3. It says, "Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings." So it makes me think, don't spend your time with a woman that is unstable, or a woman that's not virtuous, or a woman who would cause you to go to ruin, an undisciplined woman.
Yes.
a woman who would just embarrass you or ruin you.
Yeah, and from the previous chapters, I know that the Proverbs always taught about don't spend your time on whorish like women, prostitutes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't spend your money or your time or even spend your money in ways that will cause you to be destroyed as a leader. You don't need to be getting high at parties and all that. You don't need to do all that stuff at home if you're going to do it. I'm not saying I'm not advocating teetotally. But I am advocating wisdom in what you do, especially with the opposite sex.
Yeah, and especially it just says because he's a current king, and verse 4 said, "It is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all the oppressed of their rights." Because I think maybe if you're drunk or you're high, you're not thinking with all your faculties. And I think as a king, a lot of times of kings is they have to rule and they have to make judgment and judgment upon people and judgment upon situations. So if you're not in your right mind, you may not make the right judgment for the situation.
Right, and what would cause you not to be in your right mind?
If you're drunk or high or something like that.
So what are your thoughts about that? How do you feel about that? Okay.
From what line was that?
3.
No, that was 4 and 5.
It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor the princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Yeah, I would kind of say it's like what mommy said about like being under the influence of these substances. You don't have like that mental clarity to like make the right decision, and like you're kind of like, well, I mean, at least I think because if we're putting this in modern day terms, at least with like some substances, you kind of like are easily influenced. And it's kind of like you give up the control to other people around you.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, and on the TPT, just to tell you, on the TPT version, it says, it's never fitting for a king to be drunk on wine or for rulers to crave alcohol, for they think they forget, for when they drink, they forget justice and ignore the rights of those in needs, though those who depend on them for leadership. Strong drink is given to the terminally ill who are suffering at the brink of death. Wine is for those in depression in order to drown their sorrows. Let them drink and forget their poverty and misery. But you are to be a king who speaks up on behalf of the disenfranchised and pleads for the legal rights of the defenseless and those who are dying. Be a righteous king, judging on behalf of the poor and interceding for those most in need.
Woohoo! I gotta give some love for that one. What version is that?
TPT,
What does that mean?
The Passion Translation.
Oh, that got passion in it for sure, for sure. Was that clear for you?
Was it clear? Yeah, I think it was clear. I think for the first part for that, it meant like if your peers or the people around you, the people who are drinking and stuff, by you not doing that, it puts you like that much step ahead of the other people.
Yeah, and I think the emphasis is around. I talked this earlier. The emphasis is around forgetting. If you got something, it's not saying that you don't, as a leader, you don't drink, because that's unheard of. They say that's unheard of in kingly court. Kings drink, but when you drink so much that you forget, or you drink so much that you can't even get up to start your day without drinking, or can't get up to start your day without that J in your mouth, can't even get up to start your day by popping some mollies or some amphetamines or whatever, that kind of stuff, that causes you to forget when you need to be clear-minded to deal with the situations of life, right?
Yes.
And then, but it did say that you can give that kind of stuff to people. Give wine and strong drink to what kind of people? The what people?
The depressed.
The depressed.
It said the depressed and the ill.
The ill, people who are terminally ill, they're about to die. I was talking to another one, the other one about how I used to be in hospice services, and they would give them strong drugs because they know they're going to die, but they want them to be at ease. In a euphoric state,
not to feel the pain.
Yeah. So that's where these strong intoxicants are useful.
And that's very interesting because I think we don't think about that. The Bible, even the fact that in medicine they're using Bible principles to those in hospice care. They give them strong medicine, just like here it says that's who you give the drink to.
Exactly.
That's who you give the drugs to in this
Right.
modern day time.
Like the
Those
Percocets
are
and
the
all that kind of
people,
stuff.
yeah, those people give it to them because it's relieving their pain. And it even said to the depressed,
Mhm.
because this, and it says wine is for those in depression in order to drown their sorrows. Let them drink and forget their poverty and misery.
Yes.
Because it's saying their situation is so dire, they can drink because they gotta not focus on the fact of their poverty
Yeah, that's part of the
and
reason
their
why I think
misery.
there's so much alcoholism and homelessness,
Yeah,
and drug abuse and homelessness. Because
yeah,
a sister is taken down to being a prostitute. She don't even want to think about it. Man, I'm gonna go
yeah,
get this work and do this thing and
yeah,
be done with it, right? So those are deep. And I said earlier that sometimes people who, like, I have a tendency, a biological inclination toward depression. So they had to give me strong drink, so to speak, this Wellbutrin, the medicine, and I had to have strong doses so I can be normal.
yeah,
So
yeah.
sometimes, like you said, the
Or to be
medicines are part of it. Or be
functional,
functional, right? Yes,
not normal, but to
right.
be
Yes,
functional
exactly.
and able to take care of the things as the head of your household and all of that,
And
and as a leader.
that's absolutely biblical principle that they're using. So
Yeah,
if you need some strong medicine for mental health, go get it. Don't be afraid. Go get the therapy. Go
yeah.
get what you need to get it going. That's good. What else? Where we
Well,
at now?
then it starts going into, where everyone says, "Who can find a virtuous woman?"
Yeah.
Because what does your version say, Naeem?
Verse what?
Or Omar, verse 10? How does it start off? Because
Verse
with the
10.
TPT is different.
Find a virtuous woman?
Yeah.
What does it say after that? Read the whole thing.
Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her,
Mm-hmm.
so that he shall have no need of spoil.
Okay, hold on a second. So mine says this, 31,
10.
10. An excellent wife, who can find her? An excellent wife, who can find her? For her worth is far above jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her. So that's the beginning. So first of
So
all,
let me tell you what mine says.
yeah,
Who could ever find a wife like this one? She is a woman of strength and mighty valor. She's full of wealth and wisdom. The price paid for her was greater than many jewels. Her husband has entrusted his heart to her, for she brings him the rich spoils of victory.
right. So when I was teaching this earlier, I realized that it's a rare thing to find a good wife
Yeah.
or a good husband.
Mm.
It's not it's like it's their odds are way more than trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's almost impossible because the qualities, and we talked about there are 20 qualities, and I can run down the list. I don't think we did that here, so I'll give you the list of the 20 qualities that go along with it. But the first quality is that the husband trusts his wife.
Yeah.
He ain't
So
worried about her going in the street. He when he go on a trip, he ain't worried about her sleeping with somebody else and all that other kind of stuff.
well, I think it's even more than fidelity. I think that he trusts her, period.
Mm-hmm.
So he trusts her with his heart. He
Mm-hmm.
trusts her with his money. He trusts her with his children. He
Mm-hmm.
trusts her, period. So it's not just about fidelity, but that he trusts her, because when you have a wife as a husband, you should trust her. And if you don't trust her, that's going to make that marriage difficult.
Right. And
So she's a trustworthy person. She's a trustworthy friend. She's a trustworthy family member.
Yeah.
That she's a trustworthy person as a whole.
Yes, that's good. What do you think, Naheim?
Back to like what you said, like it's not easy to find, because I'm trying to tie it like to like modern times and how like it can relate to the youth. And I think like a lot of the times that, I mean, I want to specifically say men, but a lot of
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm
but
high.
yeah, a lot of like men our age, they forget the fact that it's not easy to find, so they just get so caught up in just having like a woman on their hip, or just having like anything that they get caught up in these constant loops of toxic relationships, because they just trying to pick. And I think like that's the thing. It's not easy. So in a long period of being single is not a bad thing. I think like if anything, that's good. That means like you on the path to find the virtuous woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think even in finding the virtuous woman, I would think if I was telling Naeem that, or like if it's a mom talking to a son, I would say choose a woman that's suited for you.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of virtual women, I think, out there. Is that sometimes people are not choosing the virtuous woman that's for them, that aligns with where they're going, with their purpose, with their call, with their gifts, with their talents. So let's say Naheim is a creative, and he needs to find a virtuous woman that would align with his purpose and his creativity. Because if he found a woman that was virtuous in another area, or let's say she's an accountant, and she doesn't see the value of his creativity. And so she's like, you need to be doing something stable. All that creative stuff, you don't need to be doing that. That's not profitable. You need to go get a 9-to-5 and work for the post office. She'll be distracting him from what he's born here to do.
It's almost like snuffing out your type of thing too. I feel like that's like when you get someone that's aligned with you, that like, say for example, creative, and you have also a creative person, y'all can go on the same path together. But if one person is doing this and the other person is doing that, one of these people is gonna have to be diminished for the other person to do their thing.
Yeah, I think that's how your father and I were so easy aligned. We were aligned in the sense that we both were ministry minded. We both had a call for ministry, and I think
serving others.
in serving and service,
Yes.
we are service minded people, and we were service minded people before we met each other.
Exactly.
So your service mindedness in the service that your family did met up with my service mindedness and the service that my family did.
Yes.
And so it went well together because we were people of service. So when you started working downtown on Skid Row, I wasn't like, ugh. Well, I was down. That's where we met. I was down there service.
Yeah.
We were both in service to others. And so, so the things that we've gone through in our life, when you being you is not a problem for me, and me being me is not a problem for you.
That's another thing I think that, like, because I think even when I'm talking to Sophia, like, I don't know if they know, but that's my younger sister. I be telling her, like, don't act a certain way to get somebody. Like, that's not that's when I say, like, y'all were just being yourselves, and that's like how y'all met, because y'all aligned so perfectly, being your natural, genuine self. Yeah. And like, that's what I think is like the main part about finding that path. And like, because I think that's when I was tying back to like the guys who just try to pick up and like try to act a certain way to get certain girls. I'm like, if you doing that, of course you're gonna lose them. Of course it's not gonna be stable because you act in a way. They're not in love with you. They're in love with the version you made of yourself.
Exactly, the character that you created, you put, like when they say you put up your, what is that, your imposter.
Yeah.
And then so people are falling in love with people's imposter, and then through time you can only impersonate for so long,
and then they start seeing the true color,
and then the true person come out, and you're like, who is this? I didn't know who this was.
Right. Yeah. And like a father to a son, be like, man, every man has two heads, right? Yeah. So if you choose with your intellectual
head,
if you choose with your intellectual head, you might choose a virtuous woman. But if you're choosing with your lower head, you're gonna go for the big breast, the good booty, the kind of look, the fit Instagram look, and you end up being busted and disgusted.
All your money gone.
All your money gone.
Well, I mean, there's somebody for everybody. There is a man that type of woman. Yeah. I think we don't want to devalue anyone.
No.
So I think that there is that type of woman is for a certain type of man, yeah. And I think that they would be aligned together. Yeah. So I don't even think it's so much about the outwardness of a woman or anything, because there is a man that, according to his purpose, that woman aligns.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I also think too, with that, like, being your natural self and align with who you meant to align with. Like, that's why I think like the example was the Instagram model, because a lot of guys are changing themselves up to please that Instagram model.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, that's not who you. I mean, I can't say it, but I mean, I wouldn't think that's who they're aligned with. And you know how they really are. They're probably a nerd at heart and like a geek, and they want to be on their nerdy stuff, but they want to like turn that off to turn on like the hood side or whatever pleases them. So it's like, that's when I think it becomes like a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And then I like the fact.
There's one other thing I want to say, that as a man and as a woman, I think that we need to also recognize what we like. I told him earlier, I like seeing you. You're beautiful to me. Mm-hmm. When you wake up, you ain't look like no Ugmo. You look good with makeup or not makeup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but But if I wasn't attracted to you, but I loved your character, you're a great woman of virtue. After a while, I'd be like, that virtue is not going out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's a very good point, Omar, because I think in the church we teach it almost like if it's a godly woman,
Right.
that men should be looking for a godly woman. And I think that's true. You do want a godly woman, but godly, they usually take it to be this extreme, plain Jane woman. And I think that's how some men of God interpreted this scripture.
Right.
And I don't think, for me, when I look at this woman, she's an entrepreneur, she's industrious, she takes care of her household,
Yeah.
she's domestic in some senses.
Mhm.
She's a go-getter, she's outgoing. It's a woman that, to me, it's a woman that's on purpose.
Yeah.
You don't want a silly woman. You don't want a woman that's lazy. You don't want a woman that's not industrious, because she's gonna be a weight to you.
Yes.
She's not going to be able to go with you and move with you in the things that God has for you. Because right here in verse 13, it says, she delights in the work of her hands. She's industrious. She's working.
Yeah.
She's not sitting around watching soap operas all day that
Right.
you used to say when the children were younger,
Mhm.
when I was a stay-at-home mom. She's not sitting around, but yet when I was a stay-at-home mom, I helped you create several businesses.
Exactly.
Because I was in a Dutch with 4 small children.
And that's another thing too. I can't remember the study, but it was saying that the relationship that you see last and like stay together. Like if you look at entrepreneur relationships, the ones that they didn't get divorced are the ones with their business partner, and they work together. So like that work and life relation, like, not saying you have to be working with your partner, like having the same job or whatever, but the fact that like you create a business together, you create a life together, you know, like not only are you relationship partner, but you're also like business partner.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I've learned recently with the clients I work with is that when you creating a business with someone is intimacy.
Yeah.
It takes intimacy.
'Cause it's
And
up and down.
Yes, and it's like a marriage with your business partner. So if you're with a business partner of the opposite sex, then that may create some problems if you're a married person, because then your affection or your intimacy is split.
Right.
Because you have to spend so much time when you're building, all of us who are entrepreneurs, when you're building your business, when you're working, it takes a lot of time and a lot of hours that you're with that person.
You're creating a child.
You-
I'm about
yeah,
to say, especially if it's something you made, like it's like a lot of emotion that goes into it.
Exactly. So that emotion is going to go into with that person as well. So if that person is not your spouse, that can
And
create some
I was
problems.
about to say the backhand of that was that's where like majority of cheating is done.
Yeah.
Is like when you
On the
create a
workplace.
business, yeah, in the workplace, and when you like going to work every single day, seeing the same people every single day, and it's like that creates a whole different thing. So it's like, it
Exactly.
can be used as a good way or a bad way.
So a woman who is not afraid to get her hand dirty and get into it is that, I think that's what I was talking about in that verse 13. That she ain't, you're not afraid to work. You don't
Well,
mind
it
putting your
says
work
she
in.
searches out continually to possess that which is pure and righteous. That's in verse 13. That's the first part of it. So she searches out continually to possess that which is pure and righteous. She delights in the work of her hands.
Yeah.
So to me, and then I like this too. Before that, verse 12 says, all throughout her life, she brings him what is good and not evil.
Thank you.
So
Hallelujah.
I think it's also saying that she's a good person. She's a good-hearted person. She's a person that's not messy. She's not bringing mess to her husband.
Right.
She's not bringing turmoil to her husband. She's not competitive with her husband. Because I think a lot of times what I see in a lot of these marriages I'll just say, I'm not going to point out a certain age demographic, but in a lot of marriages I see where the spouses are competitive. And I think that's another reason why you and I work, because we're not competitive. We're not towards one another. But
you better not play us in the game, because we're going to get you.
Anyway, no, he's more competitive. I like to play. No, he's a competitive person. I like to play for fun. So I just like the fellowship and the fun.
Yeah.
He's the competitive because that's the natural nature of a man.
I'm about to say,
But
I got-
we're not competitive with each other, and
No.
you don't compete with me. And that's one of the things personally I like about you
Which is
is that I don't have to compete with you. I don't feel like you're competing with me. Like, oh, you need to preach the sermon. Let me preach a sermon. It better, or, like, no, we don't
And
work like
that's
that.
the thing I see with a lot of young relationships too. It's like I think because like everyone's got that hustle mindset.
Yes.
Like, I got to making money.
Yeah.
I got to be doing this. Like if their girlfriend starts making more money than them, their confidence completely depletes, and they're just like, I can't do this anymore. My girlfriend's better than me, and it's like they don't see it as like my girlfriend made a whole lot of money. Like I'm happy for my girlfriend. They see it as my girlfriend made a bunch of money. I'm a weaker man now.
Yeah.
It's like you got this like internal competition in a relationship where it's like y'all should just be happy at each other's like achievements and just
Yeah,
go off of
exactly.
Yeah, because in a marriage, if I'm making a lot of money, he making a lot of money.
Yeah.
If he's making a lot of money, I'm making a lot of money.
Exactly.
It's both ways, so it's no reason to compete or for him to feel less than if I bring money. That's when people are attaching their self-worth to their occupation
Yeah.
or to what they're doing.
Right.
But if you look at the point that, because with the Proverbs woman, if it go further down, it says she delights in the her hand. It says she is like a trading ship, bringing divine supplies from the merchant. Even in the night season, she arises and sets food on the table for hungry ones in her house and for others.
Yeah.
So she's a woman that's feeding people. She's a woman of service. She's a woman that's making sure no one's going hungry, not just her family, but any other family. I think, remember, we were listening to Bishop Ed Smith in his bio, and he was saying how his mother made sure everyone in the neighborhood and their family members were fed, even though they were struggling in their life themselves to eat, because she had so many children and she was a single mom. But she also made sure with what she had that no one went, that's what it was, no one went without Christmas gifts.
Yes.
And that every kid got a Christmas gift in their neighborhood or in their family.
Yeah.
So she was looking out, even with the little she had, she was making sure others had something as well.
Exactly.
So not just was her household provided for, but the households and the people around her were provided as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, she was a dynamic woman, and she was a Proverbs 31 woman. She made sure that everybody, because I read it when I taught a little bit earlier. I was like, this woman gets up in the middle of the night and makes sure all the food is ready, make sure all the things are taken care of, and then also help other people. She's not just laying in the bed and like, oh, whatever. She's industrious. And that's the kind of person you want to be looking for. Somebody who's not lazy, but somebody who's industrious.
And someone who cares about others.
Oh,
and
my
it's
goodness,
not
the
self-centered. That's what I was
say
thinking.
it's a sense of selflessness. Like I don't think it has to be on that great scale because like
Yeah.
let's be real. I'm not. If she's not getting up in the middle, I'm not gonna trip because I'm not trying to do that either.
Okay.
But it's like it can be seen on different scales. Like just being a selfless person and like looking to help other people and like thinking of other people. Like I think that's a good trait to have.
So it's not self-centered, but other-centered.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Community minded, about community, about service. That's what I take it as. That she's making sure, because I think also when she arises and sets food on the table for hungry ones in her house and for others, even in the night season she arises. So maybe that means even, maybe not meaning night as in darkness, but night in a dark period, in a dark time, in a time when things maybe not as good, she still arises.
In a pandemic.
In a pandemic, in a inflation.
Earthquake, a crisis.
In a crisis, she out there trying to make sure that the neighbors and everybody's taken care of. It's her household, and it's a selflessness. And verse 16 says, she sets her heart upon a field and takes it as her own. She labors there to plant the living vines. She wraps herself in strength, might, and power in all her works. So again, I just think that she sets her heart upon a field. That's that more industriousness. That she's there and she takes it as her own. She's an entrepreneur. She's a landowner. She buys property. She's a woman that's, and she says she labors there to plant the living vines. So it means she acquires something, but she makes sure that it's sustainable. she sustains it. She
Yeah.
makes it, she says living vines.
Yeah.
So it makes sure that it's sustainable from years to come
Yeah.
and for other
Stability.
people.
This is what I said.
Stability.
That
That's good.
she has an eye for potential riches and acquisition of real estate
Yeah.
that makes income earning from her family and from her business. So she's always looking at how things can be better. I just
That's
remember,
me.
you remember the other day you just told me, hey man, I went past this building, they had 2 names on it, and I think that we're going to get a building, we're going to have some names on it because we're going to be doing some things in the community. Remember that?
Yeah.
You just called
That's
me.
how I said. Yeah, I was literally driving down the street and saw our names on a building in the spirit, and I was like, and then with that, that's a good example if you want to talk about me.
Yes.
And that I saw that, and then from that vision, because that was a vision while I was driving down the street. From that vision came the ideas to make that vision a reality.
Yes.
So it wasn't just, oh, I saw our names on a building. Why would our names be on a building? Now, what have we done or produced so that our names would be on a building?
Yeah.
And the Lord downloaded that.
I think that ties back to that, like being able to work with each other too. Because dang, I just had a brain fart. But dang, I just had a brain fart. I had a good.
Did it come back to you?
When she wraps herself in strength, might, and power in all her works, she tastes and experiences a better substance, and her shining light will not be extinguished, no matter how dark the night.
His dark came back.
But yeah, so it's like say like I'm creative, and that's why I think like also like there's alignment in not just in passion too. There's alignment in like just skills, period. Like what I'm lacking is what they have like as a plus. So like I know I'm so focused on like a creative path that like someone like my girlfriend, she's more like more logistical, where like she can write something down and like have the timestamps and ready. Yeah. And I was working with this couple the other day, like he's a creative too, and like his girlfriend, basically if his girlfriend wasn't there, it would have been pandemonium. Like we would have.
Yeah, she brought order.
Yeah, she had the order. So it's like that too. Is like your flaw or like whatever you're lacking can also be what she has.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like for me, I'm a big idea person. Like we're gonna go here, we're gonna do that. My wife be down to the minute. Did you get this? Did you get that? She'd be planning it out. Be like, oh, thank God for you, because if it wasn't for you, I couldn't bring these ideas and concepts that I have into fruition because I don't have that capacity to plan it out. But that wise woman got that capacity.
And I think that, oh my bad.
Go ahead.
And I think that too, like when you're married, it's a bond, and I think that. It's like if you have a puzzle piece and you're like this and she's like this, that what you're missing becomes like a full thing. So then now you become like a full whole person. Like you would lacking no true, like really any flaws in that way.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that also, and vice versa for a woman. When I think about what you bring to the table, I may bring that, but you bring the vision, and you bring like the stability and the safety and the wisdom and the a different way and a different perspective that I may think of it. Where I am more structured, you are more free spirited. So that helps in our relationship because it helps me in the places where I can stay very structured and be in that structured place. You come to say, okay, you need to stop working. You know, go out and have some fun. Let's go have some fun. Let's do this. Let's do that. So it helps me tap into my creative side, and it helps me to tap into my whimsy and my thing, because if not, I could stay here in my head analytical.
Exactly.
But you come and help me with the whimsy.
Yeah,
and
I
help me with that.
I remember I used to always tell you, said, I'm not creative. I said, yeah, you are creative.
Yeah.
And I'm not creative. Yeah, you are creative. Then you found that game, and now you realize you're creative on a level that's far. I can't never get the score that she get on her creativity because she just created on a different level.
Yeah, because and then I create differently because I think it doesn't have to be the same type of creativity, and I think that goes back to even when you're choosing a spouse. It doesn't mean they have to be doing the exact same thing you're doing or the way you do it. It's just that you're creative in the arts and in the style and I have a little bit of style too, but you know what I mean? And then, but I'm creative in other ways. I'm creative in creating thumbnails and I'm creative in, you know, doing websites, and I'm creative. That's how my but it's still on that analytical side more.
I can't even get there. I'd be like struggling. Can you help me?
Yeah, so I'm creative in the things that I'm creative in. But I think
what
when it
does your
says
number 17 say?
Yeah, what is yours in your version? What does it say in your version? Because mine says she wraps herself in strength, might, and power in all her works.
My 17 says, and you know there are different versions of the Bible. I'm using
So
the
mine
American
is the
Standard
Passion
Version.
Translation.
I'm using the American Standard Version. The 17 says, she girds herself with strength. She makes her arms strong.
Yeah.
17. She girded.
Yes.
She girded her loins with strength and strengthened her arms.
You probably have a King James Version.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
So what I interpret that as she's physically and mentally strong.
Mm.
She, and I talked a little bit about your mother-in-law. Your mother, my mother-in-law.
She's strong. She's strong.
Sometimes I get embarrassed how much
I feel
Mama,
weak
put that
compared to my mother.
Put
My
that
mother
couch
has
down.
always been strong.
Get the boys. And she
Yeah, she'll pick up a couch. She'll pick up any. She's a very strong-willed, strong, and all
I
kind
think
of
that's
stuff.
also like with will too, because I think a lot of the time, even like even you could go back 50, 60 years. I think with men, like in a capitalist society, like we get burned down. Like we get low when you're doing a whole lot of working back to back to back, and you like when you go home, you want to be able to go to someone who's like still has that strength to bring you back up. So not so you're just going back and you're like in your house still down and like just struck out.
That's
like there's
good,
also
man.
someone who has like a strong enough will to bring you back out of that place.
Yeah, and I think to encourage, because I think part of a woman, a good woman, and a woman's part in her husband's life is to build him up, to be your cheerleader, to be your encourager, to be the lifter of your head. That as you were out there doing whatever you were doing, you come home and find safety, comfort, and support.
Yeah, there's many a day you did that for me. I would come back from the Los Angeles Conservation Corps, and them people wore me out, and you just give me some love and show me how you know it, and give me a different perspective so I can get up and go back and do it again.
Yeah.
I would have to get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be out the door.
Yeah, and you dealt with a lot of young people too.
Yes.
Yeah, and with youth field. Yeah, you're right. But that's part of what we should do as women. We should be encouraging our men and supporting them and be that place of comfort and strength.
And you're emotionally strong. You may not have physical strength, but you're emotionally strong.
Yeah, I have emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I did not have it.
You did not.
You have imparted that to me. Thank
yes,
you.
I have.
I appreciate that. I stand up to watch. Go ahead.
Verse 18 says, she tastes and experiences a better substance, and her shining light will not be extinguished no matter how dark the night. What does it say for you for 18? 18. Because this is the TPT, so that's...
Should I say mine?
Yes.
She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night.
Yeah. So I'd rather interpret what I said, because y'all got to...
Yeah.
But the way I interpret it is she's forward thinking. She uses her intuition and power to make boss moves. Even after her family goes to sleep, she is still thinking about what she can do to improve the family situation.
I think that's true, but I think when I see it, when it says in this version that her shining light will not be extinguished no matter how dark the night, I think about it as women that no matter how dark the season of the life is, that her light doesn't go out. In the midst of grief, in the midst of losing, like you lost your parents, I lost my dad. In the midst of that, our son is away now in another country. Even in the midst of that, I'm still have enough within me to encourage and to be a blessing and to stand strong.
And I think that goes back to even the verse right before that, was saying how like when you come home and like to have that strong woman still there.
Yeah.
Like I think it ties back into that. Like she, no matter the circumstance, even when it gets real bad and it's like it's in a dark place, you can still turn to your wife and be like, oh, okay, I know everything's gonna be alright because you still got that light in her. That's like it's not completely dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's something called lived experience when you work with the homeless population. We've lived through that. You've lived with me, and there's a light when we're in the car, when we're in the motel, the hotel.
Well, we never slept in the car.
Right. That's true. Not slept in the car. But we did sleep on the floor.
Okay, Omar.
Anyway, but my point is that you sustained me through that. You could have been beating me down, crushing my, ball crushers like they call them, but you did not. You stood there through all that, and now we ain't homelessness. What was that? What was that? Did we experience that? But Naheim said something about that experience not too long ago. What did you say about having gone through that kind of experience?
We'll have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just think, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, that you. Well, I think it's a woman who can be resilient.
Yes.
It's a resilient woman, and a woman that it's almost like how to make lemonade out the lemons that life gives you.
Yes.
She's a woman that is like, okay, this sucks, but let me see how I can. For me, my thought was when we were not having housing for that period of time, I kept feeling like with 4 children, how can I make this the best situation possible for them? How can I make it that they won't feel like we don't have a home, but that where we are is the home.
Exactly.
Wherever the Muhammads are together is the home.
Yes.
So that's was what I was really intentionally doing. And then for you, I didn't want you to feel less than a man or feel less than because we were in that situation. Because that situation in my heart, I didn't like it, but I knew you intentionally didn't want us to be there, and that you intentionally did not plan for us to be there, and that how we were there was the circumstances of life.
Exactly.
And so it was not anything that but I think if I was a different kind of woman, I could have twisted that around and made it your fault.
Yes.
And then would have been like, that nigga, that's why we homeless, you know, but that was never in my mind.
That's probably why a lot of men just walk away and run away. But
Yeah.
I can tell you, I remember this distinctly. When we first got this place, we went to a hotel, right?
Yeah.
You turned it into a vacation.
I sure did. I was like, oh, you guys is like we're on a vacation, and the kids went to the pool every day. They went to the pool every day, and then and I created that and would go to the pool with them.
Yes.
Because I wanted them to feel like it was a vacation. Now, people have to understand we weren't staying in Motel 6.
No.
We was in some good hotels. We were in high-end hotels at the beach. Yeah. So it was addiction because we bougie with it. So we may have been homeless, but please don't think on the street homeless like that. We were in El Segundo. So yeah, it was I wanted to make it for you and for them because in my mind, just to tell you on the side for you as a man, Naheim, that is looking for not now, but when you start to look for a wife, I was thinking I just didn't want even my husband to be down. I knew that, wow, if it's hard for me, how much harder is it for him? Because this is the man this is his family, and his family's on the street. And I just feel like, man, that could break him. This situation could break him, and he could be in a pit, and we never get him back. Like, I feel like that's the thing that could make a man lose his mind. Yeah. And I was like, Lord, show me how to help keep his mind. Yes. Show me how to take some of that weight from him, to take some of that responsibility. How can I make it joyful for him so he don't feel bad, so he's not walking in shame? Like, lift up your head, king. You a king. Yeah, exactly. Like, you a king. This is temporary. We're gonna get over this. Yeah. Like, don't you trip. We're gonna find a way. And God provided. In the midst, it was like God provided, and it was a situation that I think it was 8 months. It was 8 months, but it was a year, but it didn't feel like it was a year. But it didn't feel like a year. However long it was. No, but I'm saying from the point till we got with family members, but I'm saying the hotel time was only a few months, but then we were staying in homes. So, but it just wasn't our sustainable home. It was staying at temporary places. So even in the midst of those temporary places that God provided, it still wasn't our place. And so I was trying to figure out how in all those situations to make it the best and to encourage you, because I kept feeling like I kept reading the scriptures, God's children not going to be begging bread. And they not, if he takes care of the birds of the air, he's going to take care of us. Exactly. And that's the way he took care of us. But if I didn't see that, if I wasn't going to God in the scriptures in that time, that no telling where all of us could have been mentally. If I would have succumbed to that, I was like, well, let's make the best, because there are going to be situations that come in your life, and we got to turn it around and make the best of it. We got to it's just temporary. It's gonna get better. I just kept seeing in myself, it's gonna get better, and it did. It
Yes.
did get better.
And I want to point out that you were loved me enough to say, Omar, I think you need to get some help. I think you're gonna need to go get a therapist or something like that. At first,
But
I
that was
rejected
before that.
Yeah,
but yeah.
But I rejected that idea. But your courageousness to do that, so that when I found myself, oh, I'm in a pit, I'm in a dark place, I said, I better go get some help.
Yeah.
And then we move forward.
But I think it's also a Proverbs woman has to know when she needs help.
Yeah.
You know, because
sure.
when I had to go get a therapist in COVID
Yeah.
because of my grief, because I realized I was in my dark place, grieving, and you know, grief can sometimes paralyze you. It can sometimes you feel like when there are certain loved ones that die, a part of you dies with them.
Exactly.
And so it's that, can I get back up? Can I get back at it? Can I sustain and struggle? Because at this time every day I would have called my father,
Yeah.
or I would have asked my father's opinion about this.
Right.
Or if we were in that place, my father would have took care of us. We wouldn't have been homeless,
Right.
because he would have been there.
Right.
You know, so it was a lot of things like that I had to work through.
That's what I call the strengthening of your arm. Remember we had that earlier?
Mm-hmm.
You strengthen your arm, your mental arm, your emotional arm. You didn't just lay back and do it, but that's good. Let's move
Okay,
on.
so then she stretches out, verse 19, she stretches out her hands to help the needy, and she lays hold of the wheels of government. That's verse 19. So I think, again, she's a helpful woman. She's a woman of service. And to me, she lays hold of the wheels of government. What does yours say for that?
Mine says she stretches out her hand to the distaff, and her hands grasp the spindle. Oh, yours say something similar to that. That's a hard one. Let me just see if I can get one other word in there.
Well, the spindle means, to me, the spindle is what you do to make clothes. My mother made clothes.
Oh, you know
it's sewing. It's the spindle of the thread.
19, right?
So it means she makes garments. She makes clothes. She's making sure people are clothed.
So that's what your 31:19 said?
Mine
She laid her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff.
Yeah, the distaff. And here it says the wheels of government. Okay. So maybe that means she's a woman of justice. Yeah. She's a woman that works in the government. Yeah. She's a woman that makes rules and establishes rules.
Yeah, because for me, I see it as like creation.
Yeah, so
she creates opportunities. She creates like better situations. She creates like happiness for the kids, I guess, in a way. Like,
and I said it like this: she's industrious. And she uses her hands to grasp tools that makes product that benefits the family.
Yeah. That's true. That's what she does.
Like you grab the tools of social media and all that kind of stuff and blesses us. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. She is known by her, verse 20, she is known by her extravagant generosity to the poor, for she always reaches out her hands to those in need.
That's easy, right? That's one of the easy ones. I just said she's proactively gracious to the poor and the needy, and extends her hand of grace and love. So that's man, you taught me how to, because I was like this, tight and stingy. I'm holding on my money. So and you said now you know that I'm a great saver, right? But you taught me how to give and how to be giving.
Oh yeah, I'll give. I'll give even in the midst. Yeah.
And you always care for the poor and needy.
Yeah. She is not afraid of tribulation, for all her household is covered in the dual garments of righteousness and grace. And I think we talked about that in our time of homelessness, you know, that, you know, we were covered. We were covered by the blood, and we were covered, and that is the righteousness and grace of God. So And
I interpret it as you're without fear. She's without fear of the future because she did what? She proactively planned for it. It used to drive me crazy with always getting them. We gotta get the school clothes. We gotta get these coats, and I'd be like, "Don't they gotta go? No, I gotta get the coat. Gotta get the coats." And so you were. I'm thankful, but y'all never went out to the coat, were you? Where your coat at? Even when we had people like.
Don't miss names. Don't say names.
Who would leave their coat? I gotta get another coat.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Her clothing is beautifully knit together of purple gown of exquisite linen.
Mhm.
So I think she's a woman that is put together. She has style. She has grace.
Yes.
She knows how to wear the finest things. And I think just the things that beautifully knit together, a purple gown of exquisite linen. Purple is a sign of royalty.
Yes.
So she moves in her queendom. She's a woman of grace. She's ladylike.
Yes.
She knows she has decorum.
Yeah.
So she's not out in them streets embarrassing you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said she's a class act.
Yeah, that's my favorite word,
yeah,
class
she's a class act. She sometimes she makes her own clothes, but she walks with class and royalty
yes.
and dignity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her husband
She's not
is
out in them streets twerking.
Yeah, that's true. Her husband, yeah, because you don't want a woman that's twerking for everyone.
Yeah.
You want her twerking for you.
Thank you.
But not for everyone else, because then that means now you're going to question if she's trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That I think that goes hand in hand with the trust thing just as much as if you trust this woman that much, you should already know how she is. You should already by now. You should already know she has like a class to her. You know what I'm saying?
And then verse 23 says, her husband is famous and admired by all, sitting as the venerable judge of his people.
Yeah.
What does yours say? What does yours say, Naheim? Verse 23.
Her husband is known in the gates when she sits among the elders of the land.
When he sits.
When he sits among the elders of the land. Thank you.
You want me to read mine?
Yeah.
Her husband is known in the gate when he sitteth among the elders of the land. You reading King James?
Yeah, no, that wasn't King James. That was the King James sometimes sounds like that. That was a New American Standard. But here's the deal: when the way I interpret that, I think family that women pick their men. I don't think men pick women. I think we get that illusion, and you as a woman you have to say, did this dude got character? Does he have integrity? Can I work with him? Can he be a star? Can he have a great reputation? And so I said it like that. She knows how to pick a man with great reputation, and she posts about that man. She encourages that man. She's not out there posting negativity, but positivity, right? And she maintains his reputation in the streets.
The way I see that is I think it's like for both sides. It's almost like an investment type of thing. Like you invest in their potential.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm not with like the sugar daddy or like wait until they get rich and then try to come back. It's like when you invest in that potential, when you both invest in that potential in each other, that's when the best type of growth together comes from.
And I think that's how the enemy tries to tear up marriages and relationships, because I think that's why in another part of scripture, and I think it's in the Proverbs, that it talks about the wife of your youth.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the wife that helped you build. It's the wife that you had when you were young. And you and her grew up together in things. And she was the one that helped you build that business. And I think the enemy tries to tear down marriages in the way that a lot of times you see that men, once they make it, they throw away that wife and get some young thing. Get some arm candy. Because maybe the wife of your youth is wore out from all that building. So she's not going to be as sexy or as into her looks because she's been raising children and doing all these things.
Where I think I mean, at least now, like the young men, they're so caught up in vanity. And I'm like, your looks don't last forever. Like, you want the girl who's going to, like, ride or die, I guess, you want to say, or, like, the wife of your youth, the one that is stuck with you, do all this stuff, all the trials and tribulations. You don't want to, like, build this girl up that not even built you built her up. Y'all built each other up together, and then it's like ditch her once you get to like a spot where you feel comfortable at. Like, and then best believe karma gonna get you back for that. You're not gonna keep that for long.
Right.
So it's like
that's important. And they this is old wisdom. They used to say, you want to know what you're gonna look like when she get older? Go check her mother out. That's what they say. Yeah. And that's not looking at her like just on the outward appearance. But what is a mother like in terms of personality? What is a mother like in terms? Because a lot of times they it's hard to escape what upbringing they came up from.
That's a good point. Yeah. And so number 24 says, even her works of righteousness she does for the benefit of her enemies.
That's what your 24 said? My 24 says she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies belts and tradesmen. That's 24.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
How it
very
says
different.
even for her enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think where you got, I think she's an entrepreneur at spirit. You know, she's thinking about how we can advance these things, how we can push the agenda.
Bold power and glorious majesty are wrapped around her as she laughs with joy over the latter days.
Yeah, that's
So
25, right?
yeah,
My
so
20,
uh-huh.
my 24 says, she maketh fine land and selleth it, and delivereth widows unto the merchant.
Yeah.
And like for me, I see it as like what she creates or what she like feeds into you or what she feeds into the world is of like fine quality. It's not like no everyday, like low quality stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like what she
Yeah,
creates
she's
is
not
like
cheap.
a cloud. Yeah, it's not no cheap stuff. It's like it's not something you can get just anywhere.
God.
And she laughs with joy over the latter days.
Yes.
That makes me think the virtuous and victorious bride has no fear for the days to come. She contemplates eternity, contemplates eternity and her forever union with the bridegroom.
Yeah, that's good.
So she laughs with joy because I think she at the latter days, maybe that's saying she knows where she's come from.
Yeah.
And she's thankful. She's a woman of gratitude. She's a woman that gives thanks. She's not a bitter woman.
Yeah.
She's not a woman that's bitter from life, but that she actually has gratitude for the things that she's been through. Her teachings are filled with wisdom and kindness as loving instruction pours from her lips. What does your 26 say? Just keep it up, man.
26. She opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
Right. Mine says something similar. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and teaching of kindness is on her tongue. I think this is an extremely important part of the virtuous woman, because there's not a lot of kindness in the world anymore. And if you have you're a kind person. You're even generous when you have to rebuke a person. You know, you're just kind, but you know, you can't hardly build with a mean, cantankerous person. It's hard to do that.
Yeah, and wisdom to make wise decisions.
Yes.
You know, because.
And I think also the wisdom is like advice too. It's
Yeah.
like you have to turn to somebody like you have no one else to turn to. All you have is your wife. He still can give you sound advice and stuff. You actually get some valuable information.
That's good.
And then it says, as loving instruction pours from her lips.
Oh, you on 27 now?
26.
26, good.
She opens her mouth carefully and lawfully.
Yeah.
So I think that's also she watches her mouth. She's not just saying just popping off.
Not
you
random.
know,
Yeah.
that's what I just say. You know,
Yeah.
I use the word pop off. She's not popping off.
Yeah.
She's not just talking foolish talking.
And also, I think that's another thing. Even if like it's like an argument or something, like she's not the type to like disrespect your name and stuff like that, and like drag you through the mud.
Yeah. That's one thing that you are good at. You have never hit me below the belt. You never just, and you could have crushed my spirit because you know enough about me, but you never hit me below the belt, and I choose not to hit you below the belt. Never. And I'm not. I don't put my hands on you at all. Have I hit you?
No.
But what I do is that I'm not going to go low blow. I'm not going to talk about your mama. I ain't going to talk about your family. We do all that stuff. So that's keeping your words in a lawful way, a righteous way.
Yeah, because what is that? I mean, what do your family and everybody have to do about what's going on with you?
Right.
They don't have anything, and I think that is a person going low blow.
Right.
I would question, if I'm talking to Naheim, I would question a woman that does not like your family or is trying to talk about your family. And even you can, I know Naheim would. But even if she's criticizing, like even if I see something in your family or you see something in my family, we're saying it as an observation, as a way for each one of us to deal with our family members, but it's not tearing our family members down. Because at the end of the day, I know that's still my husband's family, and he knows that's my family, which in point is our family.
Exactly.
So if I'm talking about your brother and sister, I'm talking about my brother and sister. If I'm talking about you talking about my sisters, then you talking about your sisters. So you gotta, and believe me, people remember that, whether they say it or not. As a couple, you remember that your spouse talked about your siblings or your family members or your parents.
Right.
And even though you may be with them because you love them, there's a part of you that resents and is angry at them
Yeah.
for doing that. You
Right.
know,
That's
what
right.
I'm talking about is different from constructive criticism
Yes.
than just I'm going for your people's neck.
Yeah.
And I think that's disrespectful.
We coming out. We'll get to
27.
27.
She
Go ahead.
watches over the ways of her household and meets every need they have. Her sons and daughters arise in one accord to extol her virtues, and her husband arises to speak of her in glowing terms.
So you had 27 and 28.
Yeah.
Because my 27 says she looks well to the ways of her household. She takes care of her house and does not eat the bread of idleness. She's not just sitting around being idle. She's not playing games all day. Or he's not playing Call of Duty all day.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And but you like, you know, all that time you're doing all that, you could have been working on the new
I can't
project.
sit around.
Yeah.
I usually get,
I think even when like, because I think especially for like, if you want to talk to the youth, a lot of us not gonna be out here making millions and making all this money. I think it's like, as long as you've been productive and like if you know your path of life and you're aiming towards that, then I feel like that's what I think is like not sitting around.
Right.
yeah.
Like if you have a path and like you going to school for that and you like learn how to do, you know, elevate that skill, then like I consider that like also like.
Yeah, like as a child, like you young, right? And we were on your behind when you were just at home and didn't have something to do. So, and then you started going out there working at Macy's and killing the game, right? But then when you decided I want to improve myself, what we do?
He went into college.
And we left him alone about the work. It's not idleness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we really want to be mindful about idleness and just wasting time, especially in this generation where we can get on TikTok for 1 minute and then be on there 5 hours later, but like still doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, those things can become distractions from your creativity and productivity.
Exactly.
Because I think about even watching Naheim in his classes, he spends hours at his craft.
Yeah.
But if he was, even when class is over, he's spending hours and we're buying supplies and he's creating, and he's creating these garments and he's creating these outfits and these collections.
Right.
That it takes him hours to do that. Yes. But what if he wasn't doing that right after class, he put his pad down and he just started playing Call of Duty or talking on the phone or just doing anything other than that, he would not be ahead of the game. And it always reminds me of Kobe Bryant. I'm a Kobe person. I'm a Kobe fan. You know, some people take it to the extreme, but I do also believe in the Mamba mentality. Okay. And so I really respect that. There are parts of the Mamba mentality, I think, is we can take it with us for our lives. And it's about discipline. And Kobe Bryant was a very disciplined person. Not saying that other athletes out there. There are many gifted athletes, but he's one that we see. Him, Michael Jordan, you know, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all these people, Cooper. Okay, I'm not gonna go through the Lakers because I love the Lakers. But so it's the thing of is that Kobe, the hours that he put into his craft, he already made it on his dream team, the Lakers. He could have said, "I made it on my dream team. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just gonna show up and do what's required." But he was like. He felt there was something in him that I know I'm called to greatness. What does it mean to be called to greatness? It means I need to discipline on my craft and I need to go above and beyond.
I think also is that his bar was not to get to the Lakers. His goal was to be the best player on the team.
Yes.
So like once he got to the Lakers, he was like, okay, I'm here, but like this not it. That's not my end goal. So he had to keep going and like knowing that if that's your goal, like I feel like that's another thing, like setting your goal and bar, even though it's kind of off topic, but I think that also like can set you up for greatness because like people who have like dreamed, I'm saying because in my field at least, like to have like a fashion brand, like okay, you make the brand and then now what? Yeah. Like I feel like to have the goals like be the best at what you do or like to be one of the best, I think.
Well, and the thing with Kobe is he never said, I want to be one of the best. I want to be the best. Yeah. So I think it's that. It's being your personal best. So there's no cap on that. Right. It's the cap is how far God puts the cap. It's not, our mind cannot conceive the fullness. That's why the Bible talks about that a lot. Eyes have not seen, nor ear heard. It's those type of things. It's the exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think. Yeah. So once you head towards that and you say, I want to be the best, then God gives you the tools
Yeah.
in order to be the best. And then it requires discipline.
Yeah.
And it requires consistency.
Yeah.
And it requires work.
Consistency is, I think, consistency and discipline are like the top two, I think.
Yeah, and it requires work. It requires intentional work.
So we're not going to be looking for a person who's always idle, never
Yeah.
doing something. You call them. They say they had dreams, but their actions don't relate to that.
Yeah.
Their actions are just idleness.
Or they're always looking for shortcuts. How
That's
can
another thing I think that I think is a flawed trait in like trying to take the short way, the short route, or like, because I'm like, yeah, you can cut through, but then once you get up to the real the competition, the real top, and the people who did the long way and did like
you missing so many tools.
Now you set way far behind. You skipped all them steps, and now all them steps is right back in front of you. And you can't do nothing about it.
Right.
You got to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You got to go back because you're not. Once you get up there, there's a lot of information because you skip steps.
Yeah.
There's vital tools and information that you never learned, and so you're missing it.
Read this one for you. We're on 29. Read that. Read that version.
Many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. Charm is should I read
Yeah,
that?
read that one
I'm
too.
sorry. Did I do the wrong one? I don't want you to read that. I want you to read 28. Yeah. What does 28 say?
Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband also, and he praises her, saying, many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all.
Unitha L.Muhammad, you excel them all. You have done great things, and I'm so proud of you. So happy. If I stand up, I think I'll get out of the scene, but I just want to know. I want you to know you're loved and appreciated, and you're far excel them all. I mean, it was worth every bit of the sacrifices that we had to make to do it. I'm so glad that you accepted me. Do you have anything to say? Because it's just actually a practical thing. It says our children do rise up and do what?
Her sons and daughters arise in one accord to extol her virtues.
You got anything to extol the virtues of your mama?
I mean, yeah, I would say like you implanted the best type of seed in us. I think all your kids are doing great. Like we all have our passion and drives that we're all like aiming to and actually achieving. Yeah, like if you look at every single one of us, Sophia 4.0 got into the school she wanted, Sadiq in the Air Force top class type thing. Yeah. Me in school for my thing, doing a bunch of art. Like I think we all like.
Yeah,
I think your son took the entrepreneurial part.
Yeah, son, and I almost forgot he doing the most on his passion wise.
Yeah.
He done so much in the craziest amount of time that it's
he's excelled and moved so quickly.
Manifesting so much.
Yeah, he's manifested very quickly.
So we celebrate you.
Oh, thank you.
This is Unitha L.Muhammad. We got a couple more verses.
Okay.
Go ahead and let's finish these verses out.
What about 29? Yeah.
Yeah, I just read that one.
Read it again.
Many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised.
Okay, what do you think that's talking about?
Well, mine says, charm can be misleading and beauty is vain and so quickly fades. But this virtuous woman lives in the wonder of awe and fear of the Lord. Yes. She will be praised throughout eternity. So I think that goes to when I think about, Naheim, what you were saying earlier about how sometimes you have friends that pick women according to looks. Yeah. And I think that it's saying that beauty is vain and so quickly fades. So this woman is not just beautiful on the outside, she's beautiful on the inside.
I think even more beautiful on the inside.
Yeah, I think it's more beautiful on the inside because she can do all these things that we just read about, which then exudes and make her outer beauty even more. Yeah. So it's a beauty that is, the only word I can think of right now is grounded or purposeful, or it's beauty that's God-centered, God-led. It's because it says charm can be misleading. So you can have women that are charismatic. You can have women that can seduce. You can have women who can be alluring, and women who can speak in your ear and tell you all the things you want to hear.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff, it fades, right?
Yes.
But this virtuous woman lives in the wonder, awe, and fear of the Lord. So she is a woman that's like, God is great. He's greatly to be praised. Right. She's a woman that is led by the Spirit. of God in how she is to govern her household.
Exactly.
She's led in the spirit of God of how she should be as a person.
Yes.
And it's wonderful in her sight. She's not despising the things of God.
Right.
She's not saying, forget God, I don't need God. Because in this day and time, especially Naheim, you guys' generation, there's a lot of your friends who may be like, oh, I'm not into that Christian stuff,
Well,
or
that's
I'm
what I
not
was gonna
into
say.
that.
I don't even think it has to be Christianity.
It doesn't. It just
I think
has to be
a
spirit.
certain faith. Yeah.
Yeah, a faith.
A faith. There's. I mean, I can't just say any like being. You know what I'm saying?
No,
But,
no.
like, I think if we have a faith in like.
God.
Yeah, basically God. God is the same
In the end.
Yeah, any way you want to call it is God. If you want to say spiritual, the universe, whatever. As long as it's still God at the end of the day. And as long as she has that and like a positive God in her life, then.
Yeah, I think that's essential. I put down here, it's essential that your spouse loves God and works on their inner beauty and spirit as well as their outer beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just outward appearance.
But she cares about her outwardness too.
Oh, that's
I think,
true. Yes.
I think she needs to care about how she looks. I know Omar knows, my saying is I don't go out to look good to represent me per se. I go out to look good to represent him. Remember, I always tell you that.
Right.
I'm like, I represent you when I go out too, because they're like, I just saw Omar's wife and she was looking great. So I always think about that and my children. I don't want, when I go pick up my kids at school, I don't go in no house slippers and bonnets on my head. I didn't go to pick them up like that because I represented them. I didn't want them to be like, dang, they mother look toe up. She be coming with house shoes.
Yes.
So it's how you represent, that she cares how she represents her family out in the streets.
Yes.
I want to look good because I'm representing the Muhammads.
Exactly.
And then I'm representing myself. I care about how I go out in the world. So I want to make sure that I look presentable. But I also want to know when they think about me, they thinking about you, and they thinking, yeah, Omar is blessed.
I am blessed.
Because Unitha.
Blessed.
Because he has Unitha.
I am so
who
blessed.
Is so fat. No, I was playing, you guys.
And
I'm
listen,
joking.
but I'm like that. I thank God for it. And I try to represent as well. I don't want anybody thinking that you got a bum for a husband. No, you ain't got a bum for a husband.
No.
Even if I'm broke, I look good.
Well, that's not you are one of the most integral people I know. So it's not about money. If it was about money, then I wouldn't be here. It's you know what I mean? In the sense of in the low times. But when it's about more than that, it's about integrity. It's about quality of a person. And you are one of the most integral people I know. And at times I had to step up to meet your level of integrity. So for me, that's how I look at it. I don't, when I think ain't nobody more integral than my husband, because I know a lot of men and I see a lot of men and I see how they act and I pick up in the spirit what they may not be showing. And there's only a few men that I look at with great respect other than you.
Wow.
Bishop Ed, different people. I'm not gonna start naming names because then if I miss some names, somebody be hurt.
Yeah.
But there, but you hang with other. I'll say it like this, and you hang with other integral men.
I'm one of those wise guys in the gates.
You one of those wise guys. You and all the wise guys. I like you and all your friends. That's another thing. I don't trip off the men that are your friends because they're good men. They're integral men. And that makes me happy that the men that you associate with, I don't care if you hang out with them. I'm not one of those wise, oh, my husband hanging out with his friends. Even our sons, Naeem and your son is Sadiq, all their friends are great friends. I don't have a problem with them being with their friends. All of Sophia's friends are good friends. So you are known by the company you keep as well too. And I think you feel like my girlfriends are great women.
You got great ones. You be prayer women for years and years and years.
Yeah, we'll pray now. I got friends. We'll pray for hours.
I'm scared of them sisters, but in a loving way. I don't want
some bad pajamas.
I don't want them to start praying prayers that don't work. It'll be
we don't pray witchcraft prayers.
For me, but not against me.
Yeah, we don't pray witchcraft prayers.
And so the proverb is going full circle. It started off with the beginning of wisdom is the fear and the honor of the reverence of the Lord.
We got to read 31.
Yeah, 31. We're gonna finish.
Okay, well let's do that before you do the summary. So go ahead and give her the credit that is due, for she has become a radiant woman, and all her loving works of righteousness deserve to be admired at the gateways of every city. That's what mine said.
Celebrate you. Yeah, he got it.
Give her the product of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates.
Yeah. And that's really the truth of the matter. Your work is praising you in the gates. I'll run into all people. In fact, sometimes, I don't know if my aunt trying to make me jealous or what. Whenever I come, she said, your wife is such a great person. I love her. What is that thing you do? I love her. A word of the day. Oh, my. I was like, you don't like my stuff? But I didn't not no competition, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm honored because your work speak for you. Groups, you're doing groups at the place where you work at. And man, you're killing the game. Nobody else is doing it or have done it like you've done it. So,
but that's the favor of God.
And your children, the fruit of your labor, your children are beautiful.
I am so blessed.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
They
are blessed.
Yeah. Come on, nobody. All of them passed high school. All of them did. So we're just your fruit of your labor.
Yep.
Is blessed. We salute you. Unitha L.Muhammad.
That's what it says. And you know what it says on 31 here? It says, her husband is praised at the city gates. I think that part of being a virtuous woman is having a righteous and virtuous man. Because it says her husband is praised at the city gates. Because I think because this woman is all of this, he's praised. When it says the man who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
Yes.
So because you chose the right woman,
yes,
you are favored. So you are spoken highly of because the woman that's in your life has set up a home and has set up a life and has been a helpmeet to you in a way that people are praising you because they see you and your family and they know that it's all good.
Yes.
You know, it's not about material things to me. To me, it's not about if you're rich or poor or whatever. It's about quality.
Yes.
It's about, everything in this is about quality. When you have quality, you are rich. I'm a wealthy woman. Yes. You're a wealthy man. He's a wealthy son.
Yes.
We're wealthy because of the quality of things that are within us as human beings. So we're putting out, you and I coming together as a husband and wife brought together. This is the offspring of that. Yes. Is these quality children that are going to go out into the world and do quality work. Exactly. And do work that is going to bless humanity and the world in ways that we never could. So that's what it's about. We're not visiting the jailhouse. Hopefully we never will. If it is, it's because it's the wrong thing. It ain't because of something they did. It's like, this is a lie because our kids would never do this. Right. But it's they're doing great works and quality people, quality human beings coming from that. So I think that when you're choosing, if I'm a mother saying to my son, when you're choosing a woman, you even think of a woman that would help you produce good things. And be a good mother, so even in the mind of a man when he's single, he needs to be thinking about how's she gonna mother my children? How is she? If she didn't have good mothering, then let me make sure she gets some counseling so that she can be by the time she has children. Because nobody has a perfect upbringing. Yeah. But that how is she gonna be as a mother? How is she gonna be as a worker? How is she going to keep our household? So even if, let's say, it's a man of means and he has a woman, well, is she going to, even if we have a maid, is she going to manage that maid? Is she going to manage the household? Because there's still a part of management that goes when you have a family. Yeah, and it's a management of pulling it all together and making it work. Yeah. So even if we have maids and servants and we're this and we're traveling the world, but are you managing that, like Naheim said with his girlfriend, that she's the logistics of him. She helps him logistically. Right. So she helps him pull it together, the visions, the dreams. She helps order it. She helps put it in play.
Now, if you're not having sex, I'm assuming you're not having sex before you get married, right? but how are you going to determine that? One thing I always knew about you, you go crazy over kids. Oh, the baby. I was like, this girl make me. Oh my God,
I love
she
children.
loves the little children.
I love the babies.
And before I even had children, before we had children, I knew you had a nurturing nature. Yeah. You would take care of your nieces and nephews, So I'm like, and so son, when you look how she treated you.
She literally wants to be a freaking preschool teacher. Okay. I can't do it,
but that's what I'm saying. But see, you're already doing the wisdom because you've been hanging out with these parents. You're looking at, are there signs of a nurturer? Are
Yeah.
they signs of a good
Or is
mother?
she gonna
You know?
be a tyrant to our children
Yeah.
from her
How's she
trauma
talking to?
or
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
brokenness?
Ooh.
Because you can have women, unfortunately. I was in a situation where I heard this person say that their mom just totally downed them all their childhood, just totally just like told them they wasn't nothing and they was this. And in my mind, I had great sorrow hearing that, because I could never imagine talking to my children like that. I could never. I did a live last Sunday, and I remember I was giving the example of when one of our children, we struggled with them when they turned, what, 12, 13, those years when you guys struggle as boys.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the? And I remember we were so exasperated as parents, we didn't know what to do. And I remember that day, this day we were in Gardena, this day when you went off on him, and then I said, do you know who you are? You are so great. God loves you. You are loved by God, and we love you too. And God has a plan for your life, and you're not living. I mean, that to me, I didn't even know that was in me to say that, because I didn't bring up what he wasn't doing. I didn't bring up you, blah, blah, you're not doing your grades, you're not doing this. I was speaking life into him. I was saying who he was as God saw him. I was saying who he was as I saw him. And that whatever he was doing right now, it didn't matter. He's bigger than that. Like, dude, you're too low. Come up higher, because you're bigger than this. So you need to come up. And so I felt like that was such a transformative moment for me as a mother, because what was in me came out of me. I didn't curse him out. I didn't, because curses aren't in me. I don't curse people. I bless people. And so I felt like I blessed my son. And from that moment on, we saw a great change. He changed from that moment. He changed, and we didn't have that issue with him anymore. And so that's, it's the difference. That's what I'm saying. I would say to Naheim, find a woman who can speak life to you and your children, even when you're messing up. That's not going to judge you harshly. But know that all of us make mistakes, but get up out of that. Come on out. Come up out of that, because you're better than this.
So I want to thank Naheim Yusuf. He's our third born. And can you believe he hung out with us? Yeah, 3 or 4. Can you believe he hung out with us over an hour studying the Bible?
I know.
So what
as a 19-year-old,
so what
we're blessed.
What we're trying to show you and model for you is that it can be done. And so I have a whole series. I did this whole series in honor of them. I started off with them, just trying with them in mind. So because I wanted to make sure they have a record going forward of what the real deal and how God is going to bless them abundantly. So you have any final last words, anything like that you want to say? You have any social media you want to direct us to?
I have a YouTube channel, L.Muhammad, in the flow with Unitha L.Muhammad, L.Muhammad. It's on YouTube, and I give inspiration and studying.
How do they search you up?
That's it. And then on Instagram, it's L.Muhammad1, the number 1.
Good. Naheim, you got any social media handles, anything you want to direct us to?
Not really.
Because I don't want you guys on my stuff.
He's fully in his own self, and
we don't follow.
We don't want no judgment and stuff like that on him. So that's all.
I'll let y'all follow me.
Yeah. That's cool, and that's good. We have an open relationship like that. Yeah. We can do that, and I don't get shocked, even if I see a naked.
Well, that's the D. That's not.
I don't say who it was. Goodness gracious, but he was being himself, and we thank God for that. Listen, how do I want to say that? I have social media. I'm on YouTube. I'm Omar A. Muhammad, and you can type in Omar A. Muhammad, or you can write Omar A. Muhammad, or the Beloved Community. That's on YouTube. On Instagram, IG, I am the Love Ambassador, right? Yeah, I am. On Twitter, I'm Pastor_Omar_. You know, we out.
He's on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm on there, but I don't use it.
We're out there for we're out there for good purposes. We're out there because we know God has great things in store for us, and we wanted to make sure you know that we're around. We have counseling ministry where my wife and I do premarital counseling and counseling ministry.
We do premarital counseling and couples counseling. We also do individual counseling and coaching coaches, and it's the healingspecialist.net.
Healingspecialist.net, yeah. And I'm also a life purpose coach with Awaken Life Purpose Coach.
We both are.
We'll do more of that. We both are certified. So listen.
He's a master coach.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. There are 21. There are 20. I'm gonna do something else, but there are 20 virtues of Proverbs 21,
which was on part 1.
Which is on part 1 of already. Thank you for reminding me. It's already on part 1. Anything else?
That's it. Let's sign out. Our daughter is waiting for us to pick her up from college.
As always, keep your hands clean and your heart pure. You cannot go wrong with that. This is Omar A. Muhammad, and we are
Unitha L.Muhammad.
And